Most of us take a lot better pictures today than we did 20 or however many years ago when we first started taking pictures. It makes sense. We sometimes, or I, had a simple point and shoot kind of camera back when I was starting out. There are so many great cameras and even phones now where you have your zoom features and your um, fast settings, different settings if you know how to use them. By the way, I'm Beth Saunders, and we're continuing to go through my 16 plus years of this archive of my old pictures. We're making progress. If you haven't seen my past videos, feel free to go back and watch those, but you can just jump in today if you want to. Right now, I'm doing the late 1980s, early 1990s. We're almost there. Today, I'm working on pictures of an air show, actually probably multiple air shows, because these pictures have a date on the back, 1988, and these pictures don't, but I had them all filed together. So this is probably 2 years, but in the same place, and it's the Blue Angels. I was originally going to use this layout. Remember when we did all the simple page layouts, even though it looks really pretty, from the Global Getaway album kit. I had laid them out on here and I was going to use them, but there are so many. I kind of want to use this layout to get a lot of small pictures on a page. This is from the Global Getaway Project Playbook. It's what you use with the collection, and you can put it in with the album kit to extend your pages. We talked about that a show or two ago. But this one has so many small pictures. I think it's going to be perfect for today. And also, I want to use the in-flight border punch. Isn't that going to be great for an air show? But it would be a shame to cover up all of this pretty decorative elements on this page, and I could use it for something else. Now this layout, even though it's really practical and just what I want to do, it looks kind of plain. All the other layouts in this book are a little bit decorative, like the other side of this 2-page spread. So I'm going to use this as inspiration, and I'm going to use this background as inspiration, and we're going to add a little bit more color to our page. Now the playbook says to get a couple of pieces of beige cardstock, and that would work fine. But I have this, since I bought the bundle, I have this Global Getaway cardstock sampler pack, and I think I'm going to use the cool gray. And also, if you have the collection, you can always look at the paper packs, and it'll give you coordinating cardstock. On here I've got cool gray, so that's what I'm going to use. And I pulled out some papers I want to use from the Global Getaway paper packs. I think this one was in the tonal pack, sort of a newsprint, nice light green. I got a light blue scrap of cardstock. I'm going to need that for my border. And I pulled out this is in the designer paper, and it's got the numbers on it on navy. And I was going to use this piece of designer paper. It's really pretty, but I decided to use the tonal paper, so I'll set that one aside. I'm going to need either some white cardstock, but this is actually the back of another designer paper, so it's a nice white piece of cardstock that was free in one of my paper packs. And then this is a designer paper. I thought about using 2 of these for the background. That would have been really pretty, but I kind of hate to use them up. And I'm going to use, from inspiration from that simple page, I'm going to use this across the middle. So let's start with this. So I took my zero centering ruler and did a little measuring, but I'm going to make this a tad smaller since I know I want to have a border up here. So I'm going to make my blue pieces at 5 inches. This one is 6 and 7 across. So I'm going to cut the 7 first. The 7. And then turn it and cut it at 5. And then another 5. And then I want to have a border on the top and bottom. Let's see. Let me grab my ruler again. I think I'll do mine all the way across. Or here I'm designing as I go. I could just do, no, I think I'm going to do mine all the way across here. So about 1 inch. Notice I turned my paper sideways because this has those numbers on it. So actually, I'm going to cut 1 inch on this side. And do another one. Then cut both of them at 7. Actually, I think I'll kind of face them together. Okay, there's that. And then I'm going to cut my newsprint. It's going to go up and down this way at 4 inches. And then another 4 inches. I'm going to turn it around because I want that edge. Okay, and then I want those to be 10 inches long. So I'm going to cut them at 10. And there we go. And then our white piece, which is going to be behind our pictures, that's the part where I'm going to follow instructions. So if you're doing all the layouts in the project playbook, there's a cutting guide in the beginning that you would cut all your papers at once, and then you would sort of sort them onto piles based on the layout you're going to do. But I'm just doing this one layout today, and I need these two pieces, 2M and 2N. So I need a 3 1/4 by 10 3/4 and a 3 1/4 by 8 3/4. And this is white, so it doesn't matter how I turn it. Three 1/4. You just double check there. Measure twice and cut once, right? All the way down. Then another 3 1/4. This one's going to be 10 3/4 inches. Turn it around because my corner is just a little bit bumped there. And this other one's going to be 8 3/4 inches. Okay. Now it's time to punch my border. So unlock it. And I want 2 of these. So I'm going to line it up on the little line here. And line up the design on this arm here. Now this is an edge style punch, so I'm going to need to cut this off to have my first border, and I'm going to cut it at 1 3/4. There we go. And then I'm going to punch another one. I cut my second one at 1 3/4 also. Now I want to back it with some white paper to get those fluffy white clouds. So I am going to cut 2 strips of this at 1 1/2. Yes, that's going to work just fine. Let's get our papers adhered down, and then we'll do some more with our borders. Using repositionable tape runner, because it doesn't matter if I go through these holes. Actually, I think I'll put the white on the back here. And I did the wrong side. So isn't it wonderful that I did repositionable tape runner? You can just rub it off. Oh, me. Let's do that again. Still got some on there. So, oh boy. Make sure I've got them going the same way. Okay, and we're going to put some of our papers down. So I realized I needed to cut 2 more strips of the navy here. I went back and cut 1 inch by 7, 1 inch by 7. And if you don't have enough paper to cut 4 strips, then you could leave it a little bit shorter, like right here. And I used my mats, and I adhered to the top of the big pieces at 8 inches up from the bottom, and then the blue strips on top and bottom, and then the green paper at 1 inch from the top and bottom, and then my borders at 1/4 inch, again using my mat to line them up. Now I'm going to add a little bit to these borders, and maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, but if you wanted to be really fancy and save paper, then you could have cut a little bit of your gray background paper out and use that to punch some airplanes. But I'm going to keep it simple today. And I went through my scraps. I keep them in this Power Simple sleeve. Oh goodness, I use these for so many things. So going through my scrap paper, I found a scrap of gray, and I'm going to punch, let's see, I need 10 airplanes. Okay. That's not even, but I'm just trying to get the airplane part. Let me look at the back and see. Yeah, that'll work. I ended up cutting off that piece of paper, and I just keep tearing some off and turning it so that I'm just getting the airplane. But I always turn it over because you don't want the little pieces to get caught in your punch. Got almost all of them out of that strip and then had to punch one more. And I'm not saving any of the clouds because we don't want any gray skies today, right? As a matter of fact, I am going to punch one cloud out of white. Let me find one of my scraps here. Okay, these are my good pieces. These are the ones I cut out to put my pictures on. I almost thought those were scraps. So here we go. I want one big cloud. And this is white on both sides right here, even though that's a scrap paper. Let's see. Push it partway down and then punch. Don't think I need the little one, but I'll just put it right here. And in a minute, I'm going to use my repositionable tape and stick all my airplanes down. But first, I'm going to do a little technique that I learned from Regina at Scrapland. Until I saw her video, I did not notice that this could be a sun behind a cloud. I just thought it was a big white fluffy cloud. So I'm going to look in my scraps. I didn't find a little scrap of orange shimmer, but I do have a piece of orange shimmer paper. And I could get out my circle custom cutting system. Yeah. No, I think I'm just going to punch it. So I'm going to punch that same big cloud out of the corner here. Actually, I don't need all of the cloud. I want the round part. So I'm going to put it right there. Turn it over. Throw away those little scraps. And what I'm going to do for one of these is put the sun in the back, and then I'm just going to take my microtip scissors and fussy cut the cloud in the front. And some off the bottom. So this is going to be a little skinnier cloud than the others. Here, I just want to cut where the circle is. Okay, then this is going to go, and I could cut off the sides here. It's going to go over it so that you've got a sun behind the clouds there. I'm going to adhere these down. Now, my friend Regina put some foam squares behind her airplanes, and I just use repositionable tape runner. But if you want to, you could just run it through the middle of your airplane and let like this tail or a wing just kind of stick up a little bit and not have that adhered. But I'm going to put some foam squares behind my little cloud. Let's put that down right there. I like it. And I have gotten a little sidetracked. The whole idea of this is to put a lot of pictures on my page, but I am really pleased with that border because they certainly go with these airshow pictures. So what I'm doing now is I need to cut 9 pictures into 2 by 3, and I think that's going to be pretty easy. As you'll see, I was far away, and this was one of those point and shoot cameras, so it's amazing that the airplane is actually even in the picture, right? This one right here, I don't know, I might just throw that out. You can barely see what it is. But I do like that I have some of these. I can tell it was the Blue Angels because of the things they did, and I can journal that this is when my family came up to visit me when I lived in Maryland. So let's cut these into, see the 2 inches here, 2 by 3 photos. And I did decide to throw this one away because I have plenty here and you can barely tell what this is. So I'm adhering these down and they're just barely touching. And let's see, let me just space out the photos. So repositionable tape runner really saves the day here. What you want to do is start with the ones on the outside, and then you can kind of move around and space the pictures on the inside to make sure they're evenly spaced. And if you have to, with repositionable, you just pick it up and do it again. And there we go. And I have some pictures I want to put on the left side that I'm going to trim a little bit. But you see how we kind of duplicated our simple page, the layout, or at least we were inspired by it, but we didn't cover up all these pretty little extra things. And then we also incorporated something from the project playbook. And I'm going to trim some of these too. So I trim these to reflect the same size that's over here. And I think I'm going to corner round all of them because I'm going to do something around on the, let's see, do I just want to do the tops? No, I think I'll do it all the way around. And one of the reasons I did that is I have this extra picture on this side and I wanted to use my circle punch. So let me put it in here where I can see. And I can't tell which way these are going without the year, but in case you're wondering, I used the printing year to orient some of these pictures on this side. And I found this cute little embellishment in the Global Getaway embellishments. Look, it's got a little airplane, and I'm going to use that for journaling. And here we go. I could have added a mat, but I just wanted to wrap this up for the little circle one. But look, that is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pictures on a 2-page layout. And I also added some embellishments from Global Getaway and some old letters that I had. Now these were older style photos that really needed to be cropped to kind of zoom in on what I was taking a picture of. But I went back and counted again 16 pictures on a 2-page layout, and I'm really pleased with it. We used the Global Getaway Project Playbook to inspire us to continue with that Global Getaway album kit. So I've just added 2 more pages and made a little progress on that big pile of photos and mementos. I hope you will join me next time and we can make some more progress. See you then.